Hello. what she said.
I just have to say, everybody looks so serious. Come on, man.
Says the lady who's been on vacation.
I know. Micah had a tie on. I told him to take it off. I tell you, I don't know how many people I know that used to wear ties all the time haven't had one on since the pandemic. Their idea of being fancy is a shirt with a collar on it.
I got my color.
I'm just happy there's not hay or poop in my hair right now, so I'm trying.
We are too, especially if we're meeting in person.
Fair enough.
It's funny. Okay. Okay, we have 2 minutes. I see everyone from the all of our commissioners are on.
I do not see that Commissioner Beckstead is joined, but we still have a quorum, so we're fine.
Yes, we'll wait another 2 minutes and
And it looks like Commissioner Beckstead is joining.
he is here. Okay. And it is 1:30. So with that, I will call the meeting to order of the Oregon Racing Commission of November 21st, 2024. Karen, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes, for the record, my name is Karen Parkman and I'm the agency's program coordinator. Today present is Chair Doherty,
Present.
Vice Chair Barry,
Present.
Commissioner Fowler,
Present.
Commissioner Beckstead.
Present.
And you missed one, Karen. Commissioner
And
Stein.
our newest commissioner coming on today, Harvey Stein.
Present.
Okay, great. And in another couple of minutes, you will be totally official. So.
Official, yes. Sorry about that.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and we do have one change. We're not going to have an executive session, so we can take that off of the agenda.
I
do
also have a couple additional small agenda items to change.
Okay,
Number one, I would like to, in place of 18, I would like to put a new 18 and move 18 and 19 down. We'll explain this at the time when we get to it. But we have a rule that we had previously approved, but we need to do an emergency rule on. We'll explain that later on. So if we can just change 18 to Rule 462-220-0020, that adds items 6 and 7 and clarifies out-of-state licensing.
okay,
And then I would also like to recommend that we move item 19, which is a farewell to Commissioner Beckstead, up to item number 6, because I know that he has to leave the call early.
yes. And we definitely want to recognize him for his work. Okay, thank you.
And we do have to have an approval on the
Yes.
meeting agenda.
I was writing down the things here. Do we have, could we have a
Oh,
motion to approve?
I'll make a
the-
motion to approve the agenda with the cited changes.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
second.
Okay, so Commissioner Barry moves and Commissioner Fowler seconds. Those in favor?
It says,
Aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay.
Up in that computer.
where? Oh, right here?
And Nelson, you need to mute yourselves. That's okay. No, you didn't spill any beans. Okay, the second thing is the minutes from the September meeting. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes of the September 18th meeting? Okay, seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, the minutes, there's been a move to approve the minutes. Is there a second? I'll second it. I don't know if I can, but I think that,
I'll second it. If the
okay,
chair.
thank you, Commissioner Barry. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Minutes are approved. The first thing under old business is director's report.
Good afternoon, Chair Doherty and esteemed commissioners. For the record, my name is Connie Nguyen, and I am the Executive Director of the Oregon Racing Commission. I'd like to welcome Dr. Stein, our newest commissioner. Originally from California, he began his racing career as a groom at Golden Gate Field. He pursued veterinary medicine, realizing that that was the most lucrative way to be in horse racing, at the University of Bologna, then worked as a resident veterinarian at Old English Rancho Thoroughbred Farm before opening his own practice for standardbred racehorses in California. In about 2001, he purchased a farm in Galt, where he operated a breeding and training facility while also practicing at Cal Expo. In 2005, he moved to Saratoga Springs. Now, there's some place that somebody who doesn't like horses wants to move.
Yeah.
The continuous work in breeding, training, and racing before relocating to Portland in 2022, where he has sort of retired. I'm pleased to announce that the Oregon Racing Commission will once again be helping with the facilitation of the online wagering companies roundtable in Tucson during the Global Simulcast Symposium, which is held each December in Tucson. Michael Lloyd and Karen Parkman will be working on this together. I look forward to their report on this in January. As the current chair of the Association of Racing Commissioners International Auditors Committee, I've been tasked with putting together training for all of the auditors in the association, and that will be held in March. We're excited to have many great topics and speakers, such as the impact of artificial intelligence on the wagering community. Thank you, Micah, for arranging that guest speaker. The Oregon Racing Commission is dedicated to training and future leadership. As part of this, we have been working closely with the Racing Officials Accreditation Program, and they have chosen to host their next full Stewards Accreditation Program in Grants Pass, Oregon next summer. We're excited to show off the Grants Pass racetrack, and we are looking forward to attracting future stewards to our area. As stated in our last gathering, this will be the last meeting Commissioner Beckstead will serve as he is moving out of state. On behalf of the Oregon Racing Commission, I would like to thank you for your contributions. We will miss having you as a commissioner. As a reminder, our next in-person meeting will be in April in the Portland area. If there are specific agenda items any of the commissioners would like for that in-person training and meeting, please let me know as soon as possible. Lastly, I want to share a quick graph of the most recent survey that was conducted across all state agencies. And let me see if I can find the share on here. Of course, I'm not going to find it today.
It's right next to the leave button.
There it is. It's right in front of my face. Micah always has to set me straight. All right. So this was used in a meeting, and I love the fact that they highlighted the Oregon Racing Commission as being probably the strongest results out there. They thought all of these were important, but specifically they called out the Oregon Racing Commission for overall satisfaction, learning and growing, and so on and so forth. The only area where we didn't do as well is we don't have a lot of best friends in our organization, but that's okay. I just thought you might want to see that and realize that I really pay off my people well to convince them to write good surveys for us. And that concludes my report.
Okay, great. Are there any questions of Director Nguyen? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the next item, which is the Budget Committee report, which is mine. We met yesterday and we kind of reviewed the budget for the, and one thing with budgets, realize in Oregon, that's on a 2-year cycle, but it's actually almost a 3-year cycle because we have a budget that actually goes almost into the 3rd year. But kind of keeping that in mind with the 2-year thing is that with the projections, and this is going back to like 2021 or 21, 23, and kind of 1920 or 2024, is that the license and the fees were actually down, and part of that was a closure of Portland Meadows and the loss of an ADW. And so there was a loss of about $400,000 that we looked at. And because of that, there were also less race days, and so there were less funds coming in. The ending balance we used to use the ending balance to use for races and to enhance the purses. And the governor's office we were informed that we could not do that. So the ending balance went back, it went down. And so, well, actually it went up because we thought the ending balance was about 530,000 plus, and it went up to 1.3. So that is something that was directed by the governor's office. The one thing about the agency is we did find a lot of cost savings by contracting out some of the services, and but there were still 10.64 full-time equivalency, and a lot of the cuts that we had to do were done because we were prudent on what we were spending. Part of it is we no longer had an office in the state building in Portland, and we're working remotely, and that saved quite a bit of money. And so that was it. I'm not really going to go into the 25-27 budget development because I believe, Connie, that you're going to be doing that a little later in the agenda. Okay, are there any questions? But overall, it's money well spent. It's money that we're very prudent in what we do, and we are watching it very carefully. Okay, that's the end of my report. The next thing we have is the Medications and Safety Committee report. Commissioner Barry.
Thank you, Chair Doherty. I'm not going to go into depth because you're going to see all the items we discussed later on. I do want to say we had really good participation, and I think everybody felt like we arrived at a pretty good understanding on the issues we discussed. So I think that should save the commission some time when we get to these issues a little later on. That's really all I have, unless anyone has questions. Thank you very much.
Did we lose our chair?
Okay. Sorry, I had to,
Oh,
I had to leave just for a moment, but I am back. Okay, as I'm not going to ask for questions because we are going to go into quite a bit of detail in this later on. Okay, under that, that's the last we have of the old business. Under new business, the first thing, actually, I'd like to thank Commissioner Beckstead, and then we'll go into the oath of office. But you know, you didn't serve on the commission very long, but your advocacy and the passion that you have for the equine community is something that I think really did help us a lot. And so I really appreciate what you did very much so, because we also worked together in the legislature. And so he's always been an advocate for all kind of animal rights and animal safety. And I think it showed through. And I think there's a little bit of a legacy here for you because a lot of the safety issues that you were so passionate about are going to continue. So with that, I would like to thank you very much and wish you the best in your new job. So thank you.
Well, Chair Doherty, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words. I think that you know, in the minds of some, I, you know, was only interested in sort of getting in the way and of horse racing. And I hope that in retrospect, you know, the record is that I just did everything I could to advocate for the safety and well-being of horses that race in Oregon and also of the jockeys. But I also, of course, advocated for transparency. But I appreciate I appreciate that I was welcomed onto this commission. I appreciate being able to do the good work. I learned so much about the racing industry, both in the course of these meetings as well as like when I went down and Connie gave me a tour of Grants Pass Downs, and I spoke with all of the people and learned about all of the moving parts that have to come together to make racing successful down in Grants Pass. But I am shifting gears. In fact, I'm right now sitting at the Wild Horse Refuge outside of Craig, Colorado. This is 23,000 acres of open range. It is owned and operated by the Wild Animal Sanctuary, which is a 501c3 organization headquartered in Keensburg, Colorado, which is down outside of Denver. We provide a home here for Colorado wild horses that have been rounded up by the federal government. These are horses what are known as sale authority horses, which means these are older horses that have typically been passed over in adoption events. And so rather than languishing in government corrals at taxpayer expense, we're bringing them here and turning them loose onto this vast open range to coexist with the mule deer, the pronghorn, the elk, the mountain lions, it's amazing the diversity of wildlife that we have and wild species that we have here. So it really is extremely gratifying. Anyone who knows me knows that I have advocated for wild horses, for more humane and responsible ways of managing wild horses for my entire life. So this really is sort of the realization of a dream for me, but it definitely is very different from Oregon in so many ways. But I'm really enjoying this work, and I'm very grateful to every one of you again for making me feel welcome, for listening to me with an open mind and an open heart, and for acting in the best interests of the equine athletes and the rest of the industry. So thank you, and I will be jumping off a call here in about 15 minutes. So if I don't get another word in, I just want to say thank you all, and I'll be watching from afar.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Scott. We appreciate all the work that you've done. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to bring in our new, formally bring in our new commissioner. And so I understand that I have to give you an oath of office, even though you've already signed it. And so you don't have to stand up, but if you could just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Harvey Stein, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Harvey Stein, do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the position of the Commissioner of the Oregon Racing Commission
as the duties as Commissioner of the Oregon Racing Commission. It's listed differently on this paper, so that's
upon which
that's
I'm now about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank
You are
you.
now officially a commissioner on the Oregon Racing Commission. Would you like to say any words?
I look forward to further discussions and see where the commission takes us.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We appreciate your expertise on the commission. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is election for chair and vice chair. We don't have any formal, big nomination things, but I did say that I would run again for chair. Are there any other nominations that people that would like to run for chair? Waiting for hands. Okay, if not, I guess I'm the only person on the ballot. And the second thing is for vice chair, currently held by Commissioner Barry. And are you interested in being vice chair again, sir?
I'm happy to serve again if it pleases the commissioners.
Okay, great. Is there any other person that would like to run for vice chair? Okay, with that, I'd like to suggest a motion to elect by acclamation Chair Doherty and Vice Chair Barry.
So moved.
So seconded.
Okay, thank you. So we have Commissioner Beckstead that approved and Commissioner Fowler that seconded. All those in favor of this slate, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. So I guess we can congratulate ourselves, Gwen. Again.
Shake our own hands.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, the next thing we have are committee assignments. And then we have 4 committees. I'm just going to ask people to volunteer on committees that they would like. And realizing with the committees that some people have a little more expertise in different areas than others. Hint on medical and safety, Dr. Stein. But anyway, we have best practices and strategy planning. And we also have medication and safety, budget, and online and responsible wagering. And so with best practices and strategies, I would like to see, and we can have 2 people on each committee. And so is there anyone that would be interested in serving on the best practices and strategic planning? Okay, we've got Commissioner Barry. Do we have any others? Commissioner Stein, would you be interested in that at all? I'm going to put Edison, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what that is. I mean, certainly I'd be interested in the medication one as well as the online and responsible wagering.
Great, then we will probably put you on those too. Anybody else that would like to be on best practice and strategic planning?
I'm fine with you sticking me wherever I'm needed.
Okay, so we'll do that. I'll put you there as a maybe. How's that? Because we do have one other commissioner that will be appointed down the road. The second committee is the medication and safety. Do we have any volunteers, Commissioner Stein? Okay, so Commissioner Stein, who else would like to serve on that committee? Anybody else?
I served before. I'd be happy to do that again. I really enjoy the work, but if
Yeah.
someone else wants the position, go for it.
Okay, why don't we put Commissioner Fowler, we'll put you on that one and not necessarily on strategic planning, because the next one is budget and I will be on the budget. But I also would like to see Commissioner Fowler on the budget if we could. Okay, so that would be
Okay.
2. Anybody else that's interested in that? Okay, and then the last one is online and responsible wagering. And I would love to see, okay, we got Commissioner Barry and Commissioner Stein. Is that the one you were interested in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so
That's
what,
great. So we know who's going to be the other member for the best practices, the new guy.
yes, whoever new person is. And so what I have down for committee assignments as best practices and strategic planning is Commissioner Berry and Commissioner Newperson. For the medication safety, Commissioner Stein and Fowler. The budget, Commissioner Doherty and Fowler. And online and responsible wagering, Commissioner Berry and Stein. And these are groups that we meet a couple of times a year and discuss some of the issues. Okay, any other questions about that? Commissioner or Director Wynn?
We do need to have an official chair for each one of those.
Okay. Do we have any volunteers? Or do I want me just to assign them? So, because I can assign Commissioner Berry to be chair of the best practices. Is that okay? Okay. And then how about medication and safety? Commissioner Stein. Budget, how about me and or Commissioner Fowler? And then online responsibility, Commissioner Berry. Does that sound okay? Okay. So, any questions, any problems with those? Okay, so we've got chairs of Berry, Harvey,
Would
Fowler,
would
and
Commissioner Stein prefer not to chair something on the first go around, or do you, if you're comfortable with it, do it? I just on the med and safety, Commissioner Fowler has been there and
okay,
kind of knows what's going on. I don't,
excellent suggestion.
whatever makes
That's what-
everybody the most comfortable, just my thinking.
Oh, thank you, Quinn. I appreciate that. So Commissioner Fowler, you'll be chair of the medication and safety, and I'll be chair of budget. Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, if not, the next thing in the agenda is, and you have this in your packet, is the Tillamook County Fair Report. Is Cammie here? I don't see them.
Cammie is not here. It's going to be Steve giving her report.
Okay, so Steve, if you could give the report on the Tillamook County Fair Report. Is Steve here?
I do not see him on right now, but I know Cammie's out with a sick family member.
Oh, okay. If not, you do have the written report in your packet. And so with this, if you have any questions, we can deal with them at the January meeting. How's that? Okay, good enough. But I was up there and the Tillamook Fair seemed to go very, very well. Okay, the next on the agenda is the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association report. Leah?
Yes. This report covers July 1 of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. The Oregon Racing Commission made an allocation of $224,944 for the 23-25 biennium to the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association. This is $112,472 for the period of this report. The purpose of the allocation of funds was to maintain and enhance remaining live racing in the state of Oregon. The Racing Development Fund, which we all call the HUB funds, was created by the legislature at the request of Portland Meadows and the Multnomah Greyhound Park in an effort to mitigate the loss of revenue due to competing gambling opportunities such as the lottery. The OQHRA is a not-for-profit organization organized under the Federal Tax Code 501c5 in 1957. The purpose of the association is to advance the breeding, raising, and racing of American quarter horses in Oregon. OQHRA is an affiliate of the American Quarter Horse Association located in Amarillo, Texas, and we are bound by the rules of AQHA as well as the laws of the state of Oregon and the rules of the ORC. OQHRA worked closely with the Oregon Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association and the race meet operators. Collectively, we determined that the best method of saving horse racing was to increase and stabilize purses at the remaining venues so that owners, trainers, and jockeys and fans could depend on a good racing program. ORC allocated, like I said before, to OQHRA $224,944 for the biennium of 23-25 and $112,472 for the year. OQHRA spent $184,700 to cover quarter horse purses at all of the race meets. Therefore, we had to use $72,228 from savings. There has to be an effective balance of racing opportunity for young and for older horses to get owners and trainers to bring their horses to make a successful race meet. OQHRA budgeted for 2 quarter horse races per day, which totaled 60 races for all of the race meets. We ended up running 90 races for the same period. So I've broken down by race meet. So for this period of July 1, 23 to June 30th of 24. So we're only going to have 3 days in the Southern Oregon horse racing, or SORA as we call it, which was July 1, 2, and 4 in 2023. Quarter horses filled 12 races. We budgeted for 6. At Crooked River Roundup, which was July 12, 13, 14, and 15 in 2023, quarter horses filled 16 races, and we budgeted for 8. Tillamook County Fair, August 9, 10, 11, and 12 in 2023. Quarter horses filled 13 races. We budgeted for 8. In the Horsemen's Racing Association, or HRA Fall Commercial Race Meet in 2023, was 12 days of racing. Quarter horses filled 24 races. We budgeted for 22 races. In Eastern Oregon Livestock Show in 2024, June 7, 8, and 9, quarter horses filled 9 races, and we budgeted for 6. Southern Oregon Horse Racing Association, the SORA meet in 2024, July 15, 16, 23, and 20, July 15, 16, 22, and 23, quarter horses filled 15 races, and we budgeted for 8.
June.
What?
That's June, isn't it?
June. I'm sorry. Did I say something else?
July.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's June 7, 8. No, it's June 15, 16, 22, and 23. Okay. Racing at Grants Pass Downs is receiving recognition for the quality of horses it is drawing and the quality of the racetrack. It is an excellent facility for quarter horses, for quarter horse racing with the 440-yard straightaway. We sponsor 2 fraternities. One is the Firecracker fraternity, and this year in 24, the purse was $83,000, of which $30,000 is hub money. And one is the Far West fraternity. Again, it's an $80,000 purse, of which $30,000 is hub funds. We sponsor 1 derby in the fall race meet and 2 AQHA challenge races, along with numerous overnight allowance and claiming races. We have owners and trainers bringing quarter horses to run at our race meets from Washington, California, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and of course, Oregon. OQHRA hub funds are only used to enhance purses at the fair race meets and the HRA fall race meets. That ends my report, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none.
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Harvey, yes.
do you know how many quarter horse brood mares there are in Oregon? Leah?
No, I don't know. I don't know. That's not anything we've ever surveyed our organization or anything. It's not to say we couldn't do that, but I don't. Do you have anything to add to that?
It's kind of a complicated question, so I'll give you a little bit of a complicated answer. Is that the American Quarter Horse statistics include show horses as well as other performance horses, as well as racing horses, and so they have that question has come up before as far as owners, breeders registering their horses to make a check on the registration form that what the intended purpose is for.
Okay.
But that hasn't come about yet. But there
Okay.
were, for example, at one point, there were 117,000 quarter horses in Clackamas County alone.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So,
Dr. Lombard.
I guess maybe a different way that could maybe answer Dr. Stein's question slightly differently, that I think maybe you guys have the numbers on, is how many Oregon bred 2-year-olds started last year?
Okay.
I could get that number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I could certainly get it. It would be easy to put that together.
Okay.
But that would just be starters. It
If you
wouldn't
could get-
necessarily be all 2-year-olds. It would
Yeah,
only
if
be
you could
starters.
get that information to Connie, and then we can get it back to the commission. We would appreciate it. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will go to the Horsemen's Benevolence and Protection Association. Randy?
Chair Doherty
Oh,
and
excuse me.
Commissioners, for the record. This is Randy Bodine, Executive Director of the Oregon HBPA. And when I was doing this, I did it just for this racing year that we just finished. So beginning with the first races that were held, which is the Eastern Oregon Livestock Show, we ran 9 races there, which totaled out to $11,100. Moving on, and I should say that in every case of the fairs, the commission provides $4,000 to each fair race. And to each thoroughbred race, we add $1,000. And then on top of that, we add an extra 1,000. One of those goes to a filly and mare race, and the other one goes to male horses. So one each at each of the fairs will go to a $2,000 edition instead of one. So moving on to the Southern Oregon Horse Racing Association, we ran 34 races in addition to the purses of $48,900. Crooked River Roundup in Prineville, we had 20 races with an addition of $22,500. And at Tillamook, we did 22 races for $24,400. And I would say that in each of those cases, across the board, the fairs, we also did $100 for 5th through basically 8th so that anybody that ran in that length at least got $100 for running. And then moving on to the fall meet, we ran 77 races, and just the tab for the 5th through 8th was $29,082. And our purses for the HRA commercial meet were $594,900. So for a total purses of $730,882. And for our part, our commitment to the commission is that all of our hub funds would go into the purse account. So that is where they all went. And of course, we had to actually supplement that too. But so that was how all of the racing for this calendar year went. In addition, just for comments, we had an excellent, all the way along, the racing was very good. I thought all of the directors of racing at the different fairs did a really professional job. I thought we ran as safe of a group of races as we possibly could. Everyone was conscious of it at all times. And so I thought that was well done. And we had excellent participation in the fall meet, from getting horses down from Washington to fill the races, and we had many races with full fields. So that really worked out well. And the Washington trainers and owners have really expressed an appreciation for coming down and running at Grants Pass. So we appreciate their attendance. The only other thing I would add is that Oregon is ongoing in our efforts to get some improvements in the HISA situation, and so we'll continue with that. And in the off season, as we're in, we, in conjunction with the Oregon Quarter Horse Racing Association, have a lobbyist, and we're working with our legislature to get more money into the racing industry in general, and we're working diligently to that end. So that concludes my report, if anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Randy? Okay, seeing none. And I'm sorry, Linnell, I got out of order here. And so actually the next report, which would have been one before Randy, is the Oregon Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, and that's Linnell Smith.
Thank you, Chair Doherty, and good
Sorry.
afternoon. I'm Linnell Fox Smith. I'm the Executive Director for the Oregon Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association. If you receive our e-newsletter, you may have seen that last Saturday was our 80th birthday. The OTOBA was founded in 1944 with the purpose of promoting thoroughbred breeding in Oregon. 2024 has been strong for Oregon breds. Purses for Oregon bred restricted races at the summer fair meets more than doubled from the prior year. And Oregon bred earnings at Grants Pass increased 14% over 2023. The OTOBA paid a starting bonus for Oregon breds at the summer fair meets, totaling $12,000. And at the Grants Pass commercial meet, we paid out $14,500. We continue to be concerned about the foal numbers in Oregon. A recent webinar by the Jockey Club's Ownerview discussed the nationwide concern of the decline in the number of foals. All the panel members agreed that state-bred incentives are crucial and that getting money to the breeders as soon as possible does make a big difference. In Oregon, we've lost 70% of our race days, and this loss presents a huge challenge to breeders. Our breeders here breed to race, and they are having to campaign their horses out of state more frequently. In fact, over the last 4 years, Oregon breds have competed at over 30 different tracks across the US and Canada. And last month, also an Oregon bred, Devil's Harvest, won a $110,000 allowance race at Keeneland. So they are far-reaching in where they're competing. This year, the OTOBA has worked with Commissioner Beckstead on implementing a no slaughter policy, and we have started a scholarship program to encourage the rehoming and retraining of off-track thoroughbreds. I was recently contacted by the owner of an off-track Oregon bred, Prayer Stone, retired from racing in 2017, and he is now a search and rescue horse. He has been trained in scent detection. So he locates missing people in the mountains in Washington. It's pretty incredible. We are projecting an overrun in our HUB fund allocation for the current biennium, and we hope that there will be funding available in the next biennium so that we may continue our crucial programs to support Oregon breeders. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Linnell? Yes, Dr. Stein?
Well, I'll ask the question that I asked of the quarter horse people. How many brood mares do you have in the state? And how many
Not
stallions?
enough. Not enough. We
How
don't
many
have enough. And like Leah said, some of those horses, the brood mares are for the sport, equestrian sport. So it's hard to get those numbers. In 2023, the foal numbers here in Oregon were 30. We had 30 Oregon bred foals. So
And
we know
are there any stallions?
Yes, there are several. Rise Up stands in Sublimity, I believe is the town. There's a few in at Oakhurst still, and a few that people have as personal breeding. We don't have a lot of big commercial breeding here. Like I said, our breeders breed to race mostly. So yeah, that's where we're at.
And how many farms are there pretty much dedicated to thoroughbred breeding in Oregon?
I would say maybe 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Linnell, very much.
You're welcome.
Next thing on the agenda is the ORC budget review. Connie?
Hello. Let me go ahead and try to share my screen again. Let's see how successful I am this time. We will be doing another one of these updates in January. In January, just to give you a little information, we will have more information on exactly what the governor's budget is. For those of you that don't know, the process is usually we submit our budget, then normally the finance department submits their budget without talking to us, and then the governor's office submits their budget. They're doing it a little bit differently this year, and in that process, we've been working very closely with the finance department to make sure that we are compromising with each other. It's been a very long, grueling process. We haven't always agreed on it, but we've submitted kind of 2 different budgets and hope to come out somewhere in between. We'll know more when the governor's budget comes out. Because I skipped out and went on vacation, I haven't had a chance to talk to our CFO since I've been back, but she's supposed to have more information on what will and will not be supported from the governor's office. But right now, when I left, I was very optimistic, so I'll find out more soon. So this presentation will not be as full as a presentation I'll be able to give in January. Is the short answer to that.
Okay, thank you.
And then we talked about this before, what was legislatively approved. Can you all see this screen? Is that big enough? That's
yes.
Probably too.
That's good.
Yes.
Better. Okay. So basically for special payments, and again, this is partly for Dr. Stein's purposes, who was not here on the last call that we did this. 2021 to 23, we had 3.4 million. For 23-25, we had 2.942, but we were able to find savings and move this up to 3.2. So even though legislatively we only had 2.9, we committed to giving out more of that before we even knew that we had the savings, because we were that confident that we could come up with it. I wonder if I can move this a little bit. Well, that's a little better. Okay. And again, this is just talking about, actually it was 3.265944 if you want to be exact. So $300,000 that we committed to finding and that we have found. And inflation, I think everybody knows inflation has been a big problem for every business, and that continues to be for us as well. Cash in, business licenses, we brought about 627,000 in. Charges for services, 77,000. Fine and forfeiture, 7.5 thousand. Fair mutual handle, 758,000. Other revenue, 37,000. Excuse me. Cash out, personal services, special payments. Again, we knew that was going to be higher. That was intentional. Ending balance, what does it mean? The current, so just so this isn't complicated, there's a state CFO, and then we have a financial analyst who we call our CFO. Our CFO has requested for us to shoot for a 6 to 7 month cash ending balance. And that is extremely high. Excuse me. We have concerns that much of a cash ending balance puts us in a position where a sweep might occur and we may lose some of our funds. So we're working towards that, but we're hopeful that if we have additional revenue over 3 months, that we can take up to what our limitations are and give that back to the industry. We can't tell you exactly what that's going to be right now, but we do ask that when we send out the request, which we will be doing soon, that, excuse me for a moment.
She is suffering from long plane ride cold.
I request that we come back to this topic at the end. I'm not coughing.
Let's get back to Connie in a little bit. Maybe we should move on and come back if that's okay.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so we will hold that off for a little bit until Connie's cough is finished. And the next thing we have on the agenda is the horse racing. So, and the one thing about the budget is, I say, you can go through and have the budget, but nothing's probably going to be determined for another couple of months. So, Horse Racing Association, HRA, Mr. Lowe.
Chair Doherty, Director Wynn, and Commissioners. I'm Rod Lowe. I'm the CEO of HRA, Horse Racing Association. I want to thank the ORC, the staff, and all the stakeholders for having a very successful fall race meet. Weather was the best we've had in a long time. It was 70 or 80s almost every day of our races. We had no rain during the races. We had a few rainy days for training, but nothing that ever stopped us training. We had no jockey injuries during our races. We did unfortunately have one horse that was euthanized because of an injury, and we had one horse that died of a medical condition after a race. We pride ourselves in having some events during each race day. And one of the events that we had T-Rex races. It was our second annual T-Rex race, which last year we had about 50 participants. And unfortunately, it was a smoky day and we ended up canceling the races early. And so it didn't get the full effect as it did this year. So this year they came back, they had the T-Rex races again. They had over 100 participants. And this money all goes for kids with cancer. And so during the races, they raised $10,691 that all went to the Kids for Cancer.
I would assume these are people in T-Rex costumes and not necessarily the real.
Yes. Yeah, they're T-Rex costumes. They're all big blow-up costumes that stand about 10 feet tall.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's really a lot of fun. They had a qualifying race to begin with where all 100 of them raced at one time. And then they took the top 10 qualifiers or 20 qualifiers after that, and they raced in a finals. So it was a big hit for the community. It was a great fundraiser for the kids with cancer. And it was just all around a lot of fun this year. So we're glad we didn't have any rain or smoke in order for us to have that event. We had a 12-day race meet. We had 107 races this year. And out of those 107, it ended up being 4 extra quarter horse races and 5 extra thoroughbred races. We had 738 starters. We had 38 scratches, a total purses of $995,318 that was given away to trainers and owners. And we had an audience of 21,700 people in the 12 days. We had an on-track handle of $243,189. We had an off-track handle of $24,451. We had a total handle of $267,640. Just for some comparisons from 23 to 24. So in 24, we had 107 races. In 23, we had 100 races. In 24, we had a field size of 6.9 per race. Last year in 23, we had 6.4. So we had an increase in that category. Purses, we had 995,318 in 24. In 23, we had $935,057. It was a 6% increase, totaling $60,261. In 24, we had the 107 races, which was a total of $267,640. In 23, it was $242,661. Was a total increase of 10% or $25,179.
Good.
Our attendance, we had 21,700 in 24. In 23, we had 18,491. A total increase of 17% or 3,209 people. So overall, as you can see, we were up in every category this race meet from 23 to 24 and had a very successful year.
Excellent. Excellent. Good to hear. Any questions of Rob? Okay, if not, we're looking forward to another good year. Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is the a temporary authority for the steward. And Connie, can you handle that, or Micah and Karen, are you guys going to handle that?
Let me see if I can get through this. If
Okay.
not, I've got Micah queued up to handle anything else.
Okay, great.
Let's see.
Because they did get this in the packet, correct?
Yes, and I'm looking for it in the packet and now I don't see it. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's there.
Yeah, I have it.
Here it is. So ORS 462.405, in lieu of a board of stewards conducting an inquiry and hearing provided by subsection 1 of this section, the board of stewards may request a commission to appoint and designate a person to conduct such inquiry and hearing, who shall be known as the hearing master. The hearing master shall have the same authority and power as a board of stewards in the inquiries and hearings. The reason we're requesting this, like last year, is because the other stewards are seasonal. As a matter of fact, even Micah is now, I'm sorry, our presiding steward, Mike, is also seasonal. We would bring him back if we needed him to, if there was anything to rule on. So my request is that you approve ORC or ORS 462.405, section 3, to allow the duties of our steward to be designated as
a hearing master.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you could do that, I would be so happy. Okay. and with the limitations of through the end of April.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions, any comments? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept what was just presented. ORS 462.
Make that motion.
Okay, so Commissioner Fowler moves.
I'll second.
Okay, and Commissioner Stein seconds. Are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, it passes unanimously. Okay. The next thing on the agenda, and this is Commissioner Berry, the discuss and findings of the Medication Safety Committee and recommendations, including the possible approval to begin rulemaking process following NSAID use, not allowed, whatever that is, but you'll explain it. Okay, Commissioner Berry.
I will.
Oh, excuse me, within
I'm gonna
40
go through these
hours.
point by-
Yeah.
And I'll go through these point by point, and Commissioner Bernstein were both there, so if I accidentally make care of anything, please guys jump in unless Chair Doherty objects. Here we go. So 48 hours of restart. Dr. Lombard, Dr. Stein spoke to that and sounded they had consensus on back to staff to put into policy so that we can vote
Okay,
on that. As
when you are a little choppy.
I apologize. Can you hear me better this if I speak up?
Perfect.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I will just speak up. Next item. So I think that referring it for a rulemaking process to start is a good idea, and I think that was the consensus for the NSAID use, and then be brought before the commission. Discontinuation of the use of certain treatments within 48 hours of the restart. My understanding on this conversation is that anything we already have rules against, we can make rules against any of these, although no specific concerns were brought to bear the nebulizers to give animal ready legal medicine. So
I'm sorry, Commissioner Berry, we're having issues again hearing you.
Yeah.
May
cutting
I
out.
ask if Commissioner Fowler feels comfortable to talk through that since we can't hear him right now?
I can do that.
Okay. Thank you, because it looks like he's frozen a little bit. So.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you.
So let's see, he left off. So we discussed in the Medication and Safety Committee meeting the NSAID use, and I think there was an agreement between all of the vets and everyone who spoke that that should be moved to 48 hours before race start, but that the amount shouldn't change. And then there was a long discussion about the other specific items listed, I through V, lasers, nebulizers, boots, whirlpool boots, and acupuncture. And it seemed that the consensus was that none of those specifically are performance enhancing, but that we would discuss further if anybody had any strong feelings about any of those specific items listed. There was also discussion regarding changes to the Coggins rule, which is currently a Coggins needs to be proof of negative Coggins test needs to be shown once a year. And there was discussion about moving that to once every 6 months. I don't know that that is ready to be presented to the commission for a vote. I think Director Nguyen, you'll correct me. I don't believe it's ready for that, but that's just in the discussion stage at this point.
Okay.
I think
Commissioner Berry had.
I don't know if you guys hear me or not. My understanding was that based on the epidemiology, the vets felt like staying at 12 months, which is what it was, Oregon Department of Ag. But what the state standard is for all horses coming in and out. Connie, you have a comment. Did I get that wrong in my understanding?
Commissioner Stein?
Yeah, I mean, I personally believe 6 months is where it should be, but the for instance, Canada is 6 months. If you wanted to export a horse to Canada, it's 6 months on the Coggins. I know a lot on the East Coast. They have what's known as a passport for horses that compete at shows and such, and it's a 6 month. It's like a 6 month health certificate that includes Coggins and such. My concern is that we have states that are starting to change these. And we have racing associations such as Los Alamitos that was changing it for quarter horses. New Mexico, I believe Colorado has now changed. And I'm not sure if it's specific for horses coming from New Mexico or Texas, but it's still, I mean, the concept is that we would like to eliminate equine infectious anemia. And even though the numbers of positive cases in the US is very low, each one of those horses is a dead horse. So I think I view it that even if, for example, you had 100 positive cases, what you're having is 100 dead horses, and we don't know what type of horses those are. They could be $100,000 racehorse. They could be $1 million yearling. We just, if you factor that in, that it's an area that we really don't want to have mistakes. And I know there was discussion earlier about the cost, and I recognize that, but I also don't recognize why the cost is that much. And I think there might be something to be done if cost was the concern, that maybe we can, do something with the Oregon Department of Agriculture. I went on their website and they say it's $10 for a Coggins test. Now that doesn't include, the vet call and those kind of things. But if it's at a racetrack, I'm not even sure that's such a big deal.
Okay, Director Nguyen, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I want to bring up a couple items on this since I'm not coughing for the moment. One is a lot of our horses are only running seasonally because it's Oregon. So they may only be getting a Coggins test right before they come up anyway. So I'm not sure that the 6 months would be that much of an issue. The other thing is, I do believe I heard that the group did agree that making it mandatory for all horses on the track, no matter what, is something everybody agreed on strongly.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I think the commissioners need to decide if they want to vote on all of it, and if they want to vote on 6 months, and they could be two separate votes, and give us direction on what we need to write up to present to you in the next meeting.
Okay. So if I get the understanding, what we're looking at is what we've been discussing is to have possible approval to begin the rulemaking process for all of these things. And I think, are you looking from direction from the commission, whether to do it for 1 year or 6 months when it comes to the Coggins rule? Is that what you're asking? Okay, commissioners, suggest. Oh, Alice, do you have a question?
Just one more point to consider is, are we requiring it for all horses on the grounds at an Oregon race meet, or only horses who are racing? I would recommend for all horses on the grounds, but that's up to you guys.
Okay. Commissioner Fowler, I mean, I don't know, so.
Yeah, and I see it kind of as two issues, whether or not we are interested in changing it to 6 months from the year. There's a separate issue of we want to include all horses that are going onto the racetrack.
Okay.
And so perhaps if there's not agreement on the time frame, but there is agreement on all horses, then we could propose to begin the rule making process for that part of it at least.
Okay, sounds good. So I think what it is why don't I get some input for the committee from the commissioners as to whether it's 6 months or once a year. We'll do that, and then we'll vote on whether we're going to send this to the rulemaking process. So 6 months or a year? I'm just asking the commissioners. Okay. Yes.
I believe in 6 months.
Okay, 6 months. Fowler, 6 months. Commissioner Quinn, he's got 6 months. I think that I better go 6 months. Okay, so it looks like it's 6 months is what the recommendation is. Okay, I need a motion to approve to begin the rule-making process for what we've been talking about.
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank
Is
you.
that strictly we're talking about the 6 months and not the part about every horse on the grounds?
No, what it is, we've got a motion on the floor, so we've got to go through and do that. We've got the motion made by Commissioner Fowler, seconded by Commissioner Stein. And what this is just to make the rulemaking process on the following, on the following things that are on the agenda, like the whirlpool boots and all that kind of thing. And so it's just to make the rules for it, is what we've got so far.
I must have misunderstood then, because I thought we were talking about with the motion was to make the rulemaking process with regard to the Coggins,
Yes.
not
that's
the
correct.
other stuff.
Okay, then would
The
you like
first
to
motion needs
revise
to be for
your,
this.
would you like to revise your
Commissioner
motion?
Fowler, would you withdraw it? I'll try to do it so that it incorporates the both of them, or do you want to restate it? Ah, dang it.
What, if I need to restate it, what I would propose is that we begin the rulemaking process for changing the Coggins test requirement from 12 months to 6 months. And secondly, from changing the requirement previous that it was only horses racing to all horses that are going on to the fairgrounds or the racetrack behind the.
Commissioner
And that's-
Stein. you
And that's
said-
what I second, yes.
Okay, that's what he seconded it. So we've got a motion on the floor. Are there, and usually with this, it's the people that have to decide that are asking the questions, but we will open it up to other questions.
And
Rob,
remember that
Leah?
there will be a rulemaking process. It will include public testimony,
Yes,
public hearings. So if you have comments, we will have ample time for that, including at the end of this.
yeah, because what did we need to vote on? We need to vote on the amendment. That's what the rules are. Right. So, you see what the, we see
Starts
what
Easter
the,
morning, June, July.
Nelson, you
September.
need to be muted again.
That's
Leah, you need to be muted again. Thank you. And so the motion on the floor is with the rulemaking process on those two things. It's been seconded. Any other discussion from the commissioners? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, Commissioner, all those opposed? Okay, Commissioner Barry, are you voting?
I think he's frozen.
Okay, thank you. I think he was doing that.
I
Okay, I hear that. And there's Commissioner Beck.
I was frozen as well, and my vote is aye.
Okay, great. It is passed. And so the rulemaking process will begin. And during the rulemaking process is where a lot of the questions are brought forward. A lot of the questions are answered before it comes back to the commission for approval of rules. Does that sound okay? Okay. With that, the last thing on the, or second to last thing on the agenda is this is the new item 18.
Actually, point of our order, Chair
Yes.
Doherty, we skipped over number 16, the approval of the calendar for the 2025 ORC
thank you.
meetings.
Thank you.
And if, with your permission, just wanted to bring it out, it is in your packets there.
Yep.
For your review, with a
What
couple
years
of
are?
notes. The years that are listed for each month are incorrect. Those should be 2025s. The dates and months are correct. I also would like to point out that unfortunately June 19th is a public holiday, Juneteenth. And so we may have to move that one. Other than that, I believe 11 out of these 12. Also bringing to everyone's attention that there are two meetings that we are setting goals to all be in person. The one in April, which will be up in Portland. And then September, which unlike the other 11 months, will be on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
In September, we're targeting to be in person at Grant Pass Downs here in Southern Oregon. So with that,
Thank you for
I turn it
bringing that
back.
up. I had it. everything's squished together and I didn't see it, but I appreciate that. Any
I
questions?
recommend that we
calendar?
just, we approve this with the correction to the year and eliminate the meeting in June altogether because we're really busy at that time of year anyway.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the calendar with the change of the year date and the canceling the meeting in June.
So
I'll make
moved.
that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Representative Fowler is seconded, excuse me, I keep saying Representative. Commissioner Stein made the motion and Commissioner Fowler seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Okay, motion passes. Okay, so yes, Director Quinn?
Yeah, I want to bring one thing that looks like we missed when we were talking about the medication list. And I apologize for having a cold. That's very rude of me. The NSAIDs, I think we all agreed that we wanted to put a motion out to see if we can change that to 48 hours, and we did not vote on that.
What was
I would
that?
agree with
I'll
you.
make a
So one
motion
of
to
you guys
begin
need
that
to make a
rulemaking.
motion on that.
Is this,
I-
I'll make a motion.
can I ask a clarifying question? Is this something that is separate from the rulemaking process on what we're talking about now?
There's two separate rulemaking process. We did agree on the rulemaking process for the Coggins test, which is for the equine infectious anemia. This one is for the non-steroids,
Okay.
anti-inflammatory, that we change it from 24 hours to 48, which would be in line with what ARCI and the states around us
Okay,
does.
I got it. Because it was the way it was printed, it looked like it was the same thing. So, so again, entertain a motion to begin the rulemaking process for the NSAID use.
Oh, yeah, I gotta do.
I'll
a
make that
motion to
motion.
begin the.
Okay,
Oh,
Commissioner Fowler makes a motion, Commissioner Berry seconds. All those in favor?
I'm working on it right now.
Raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. Okay, anything else before we go to 18? Either the new 18 or the old 18. Okay, Director Wynn, we have the.
I'm gonna actually turn
added
this
to the
one over
ballot.
to Micah because he's more of an expert on these anyway. There's actually two rules that he's going to be discussing. One that we had in the file and one that we did not, and he will take it away from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Doherty, Director Wynn, and rest of the commissioners here. I'm Micah Lloyd, agency's Director of Mutuals. I'd like to start off with a housekeeping rule, which was a late addition here. A curious component, we had two rules that were being updated late last year, earlier this year. Both of them were in the same rule, 462-220.0020. The first one, they both passed. However, they stepped on each other when they were submitted to the Secretary of State. The first rule was one that added ability for licensing in out-of-state jurisdictions unless there was access to PII. That is the 6 and 7 that is noted earlier. I can read the wording if you want clarity, but the rule was passed. It was passed and submitted to the Secretary of State. A month or two later, a subsequent addition earlier in the rule that permitted wagering to include the ability for geolocation technologies and methodologies was subsequently passed and also submitted to the Secretary of State. However, that rule didn't include the previously approved 6 and 7, thus overriding it. What we are asking for today is an approval from the commissions to file a temporary rule so that we can begin using the 6 and 7 rule as corrective action. Then when the temporary notice timeframe runs through, we will make it permanent.
Okay. Are there any questions of Micah? And so basically, this is just a housekeeping thing to have file a temporary rule with the Secretary of State's office. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, I entertain a motion to file a temporary rule. on, is that was a 462-200-0675? Was that?
I'll
the
make that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Beckstead will make his almost last motion.
Then I'll
to-
second it.
To file the temporary, and then Dr. Steins seconds it. Any other discussion?
Oh, sorry. This is Kelly Rupp from DOJ. I just wanted to cut in. I think Micah might be
thanks, Kelly.
frozen. Oh, and only just to correct the rule number for the motion. I think the one that you referenced was the other rule. This
Okay.
rule that is the motion needs to be for is 462. I think it's 1200020.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure we were voting on the right rule number.
Negative. It's OAR 462-220-0020, subsection
Dash.
6 and 7.
Got it. Okay, as long as we have that reflected in the minutes. If you can do that, Kelly, thank you very much for clarifying that. Okay, we've, any other discussion? Okay, we'll move to the vote. All those in favor of filing the temporary rule, raise your hand, say aye. Okay, aye, it's unanimous. Okay, Micah, do we have something else we need to deal with on that?
Indeed. No, a separate rule now. We discussions and possible approval to begin the rulemaking process for a new wager type 462-200-07675. We're calling this best X of Y.
Yes, and this was in the packet, so.
This is in the packet for your reviews. This is just the approval to begin the rulemaking process, of which a first pass is in there for your review. We will go through the proper public comment periods, etc. And this is just to summarize, this is a bet type that would only where only horses that finish in the top Y are eligible for payout. All other wagers are refunded. There will be lower payout, but lower risk. It's an interesting rule, interesting best bet type proposed by one of our ADWs.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions about this proposal? Because what we're just voting on is to begin the rulemaking process. Any questions? Okay, entertain a motion to begin the rulemaking process.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler makes a motion to begin the rulemaking process on OAR 462-200-0675. That's the one. Okay, any other discussion? And there was, the second was, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Stein second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, so raise your hand, say aye. I think that Commissioner Barry, you say, is frozen again, so, but we still had a quorum. Okay, so that passes. We've got lots of rulemaking to do in the next couple of months. Okay, that's the last thing we have on the agenda for new business. Is there any public comment? Yes, Dr. Lombard.
Just to clarify the motion and the vote on the NSAID changes, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, and what we discussed in commission, what you guys are moving forward with is what I understood. So we're looking at 462-160-0130. And under that, in subpart 4, parts C and D, you're changing just that those NSAIDs will not be given within 48 hours instead of 24 in part C. Our threshold under II, and III for our 3 NSAIDs that are allowed remain the same. And then same thing in part D, we're saying that those NSAIDs are now oral administration 48 hours out. So our thresholds are remaining the same. Our timing is just 48 hours for either injectable or oral.
Okay, seeing the nods, I assume that is what the assumption is.
Okay, that was, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none.
Could I,
oh, go ahead.
Could I make a comment? I was holding my hand up, but
okay.
Further, I don't want to get in an argument with any. It's just a comment that comes to mind on the back to the Coggins test on 6 months. We've got a 5-month racing season, and I need to have a Coggins test for that. Then when I leave that Tillamook meet or the HRA meet, then there's a 7-month period before the spring meet starts again. So to have me bring my horse back to my farm with my mares, with my other horses, and have a Coggins test to do that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, thank you very much for your input.
It's only to be on the racetrack. So you have your race meet, that'll cover you for the 6 months. You go home. Oregon only, you're not shipping into Oregon. You don't need a health paper, right, to go from the track to your farm. You're in Oregon, correct?
No, but your rule says I have to have a Coggins test every 6 months.
No, on the track.
On the track.
Okay, well, if it only applies to the track, I'm all for that. I'm
Yeah, it's
not
only,
an advocate.
we can't change the Oregon Department of Agriculture requirements. So this is for horses that are on the track.
Okay, Commissioner Fowler?
Thanks. Basically, I think just to restate that, if a horse is going on to a racetrack, they had to have had a Coggins within the last 6 months.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
I agree.
A lot of clarification.
Great.
Okay, any other, that was public comment. Any other, we have no contested race cases, correct? Okay, so with that, do we have anything else for the good of the order? Okay, if not, before I call you adjourn, have you guys, I don't think we're meeting in December, correct?
We're not, but have we covered public comment?
Yes, so we did. I asked for public comment and we just heard public comment. So I see no other hands up for public comment. Okay. Well, listen, since we're not meeting in December, you guys have a good holiday, good Thanksgiving. And we wish you all the best for a great new year. We are sorry to see Commissioner Beckstead go, but you're going to enjoy your new job. And welcome Commissioner Stein and the other two. Thank you so much for all of the work that you've put in to this commission. We really appreciate it. That and the staff are great. So with that, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.